Hey guys, sorry this is so late, but come to find out, technology is not my friend. So let's get down to why we're here. I am here to introduce reality therapy to you. I will warn you that it is very different compared to what we have been studying, but give it a chance. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with the man responsible for this therapy or theory, as you will. His name is William Glasser, and there's a picture of him on the right. Dr. Glasser was born in Cleveland, Ohio in 1925. Like Dr. Wagner stated a few weeks ago, though, he did recently pass in 2013, so rest in peace, Dr. Glasser. Thank you for your work. But I'd like to jump into his educational background, his credentials, as you will. He first started in Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. He, interesting enough, started as a chemical engineer and then it magically turned into clinical psychology. We've all been there with changing in majors and stuff, so we can all relate. And so then he decided to go on to and attend a medical school for his psychiatry degree around 1953 and finish that around 1957. And then, after all his psychiatric training, um, he finished his degree from UCLA, from my knowledge, in 1961 and was a board certified psychiatrist. To dive a little into his personal life, he was first married to Naomi Glasser for 47 years, but then she passed in 1992. And then after her death, just short amount of time in 3 years, he found another wife, which is Caroline Glasser, and they married in 1995. The way he met her is she actually worked through the William Glasser Institute, oddly enough. So, one of his coworkers. Um, so just continuing on Glasser, I thought I would share some of his ideas, beliefs, thought processes, and little inspirational quotes that Dr. Wagner does. So first, I just wanted to say that Glasser believed that theories are approaches to how problems develop and how those problems can be solved. And according to Dr. Glasser, the founder of reality therapy, of course, he believed that human problems are a result of choice behavior. And then a good little quote that I liked was, "We almost always have choices, and the better the choice, the more we will be in control of our lives." And let's be honest, who doesn't love to be in control of their lives? Okay, but if you're not being honest, then I will. I love being in control of my life. So I kind of really understood kind of this theory better, this therapy better, and really related to it. So now I wanted to talk about how reality therapy kind of came about. So Dr. Glasser, after his receiving his psychiatric degree, um, started to realize early on that he didn't really like the Fordian model, particularly due to his observations that he observed through trained therapists who would use these Fordian principles. Um, so he started to do some exploring and some researching, trying to just kind of come about his own thing and his own understanding of it. He liked to really focus the thought that it would be best to talk to the sane part of the client and not the disturbed side. I know it's worded a little funny, but I kind of see what he means by when how Freud and his principles and stuff like that and concepts on how he would approach things. Um, so he really started, like I said, coming about his own ideas about reality therapy, and he kind of came to this conclusion of calling reality psychiatry. And he wanted to give lectures and different things like that, and so he did try to do that. The only problem that I feel like he ran into though was the audience members that he would see at these public lectures were not psychiatrists. They were more educators, social workers, correctional workers, counselors. Um, and he started to realize that maybe he needs to change this name up, and that's kind of how the name reality therapy came about. He started doing more research and writing more books, and a lot of educators saw where reality therapy was very helpful in the school settings, in the classroom. So they asked him to like kind of like implement that into the school. So it just kind of like launched from there. As the years kept going by, he still seeded the need to get kind of like a theory as like kind of like the background as I saw it. And he learned about control theory, which is from William Powers. And he believed that that theory had great potential, but wanted to kind of revise it or expand it or even clarify it even more. Um, so, what he did after many, many years of research, he came about renaming it and called it choice theory, which is sort of the basis of reality therapy. Um, and so, reality therapy, kind of just to like sum it up for now, and why it's taught all over the world, is that we are all responsible for what we choose to do. We are internally motivated by current needs and wants, and we control our present behavioral choices. And so that's how reality therapy kind of came about for him. And this is around 1996 is when this all started to like come together for him and work in his institute and practice and just teaching all over. All right, so another person that contributed to reality therapy is Robert E. Wilmington. That is his picture over there on the right. I will be referring to him as Dr. Bob from here on out because I'm pretty sure I'm butchering his last name. So let's go ahead and get started with him. He was born in Ohio as well in 1936, just like William Glasser. So I guess Ohio is the state for reality therapists. Fun fact. Just kidding. He received his doctorate in counseling from the University of Cincinnati. He is a licensed counselor and psychologist. He, throughout his career, has worked in or has worn many hats in different titles throughout his career. So he was a high school teacher, he was a high school and elementary school counselor, a consultant for a drug and alcohol abuse program, and even belonged to the Catholic priesthood, working through them. He couple his greatest accomplishments, in my opinion, he was the director of the Center of Reality Therapy that's located in Ohio, and then later on in life, he was even appointed by Dr. William Glasser himself as the training director of the William Glasser Institute, which is a very big deal. He is married to Sandra Trafilio, who is an educator herself, and just shared his passion with him. Another great thing about him is that he has taught reality therapy all over the world, educating people such as in like Germany, Japan, Korea, just all these different programs. And just has really like devoted his life, I feel like, to educating others. Another great thing to understand about Dr. Bob is that he really extended the theory and the practice of reality therapy and developed his own concept to use while implementing this, and it is called the WDEP system. It is something that I will refer to later on in the PowerPoint, but it is very important and crucial to reality therapy and how everything works. All right, so at this point, I kind of just want to like check in and make sure everyone's kind of getting a good understanding of what I'm talking about. So, the two things we want to focus on are choice theory and reality therapy. Choice theory is a theoretical basis for the reality therapy, it explains why and how we function. And so, then reality therapy provides a delivery system for helping individuals take more effective control on their lives. So, a good way to kind of like clear this up that the book did was it says if choice theory is a highway, reality therapy is the vehicle delivering the product. That's why I got a good little picture for you so you can kind of like put it all together for you visual learners. But yeah, that's like a good way to kind of like look at it. It's just like these two go like hand in hand, like you can't do one without the other. So, we'll go ahead and get started on the next thing. All right, so how this theory works is I found best described in the illustration. So we can put ourselves in the middle or like the client themselves. And we have these five needs that are like embedded in us that drive us in our day to day lives. So One could be survival, the other one would be power, freedom, fun, and then love slash belonging. Each of us has all these five needs, and they are needs that we do need, but they do vary in strength. So you might have a stronger sense of um, love for something, like a need for love compared to someone else. So Glasser liked to emphasize that he believed that the need to love and belong is the primary need that we need to have. Because we need people to satisfy the other needs, such as like survival. So think of like an infant. I think of like an infant, and it's just like you need your parents to survive or a caregiver to survive. To have fun. Some people can have fun on their own, but some people also have fun when they're like around people and stuff. So I think that's what he meant when you need the other people to satisfy those needs. In a good way that reality therapists teach clients choice theory is they kind of do it indirectly. So clients can identify the unmet needs and the unmet needs that they have and try to satisfy them themselves, if that makes sense. All right, so how this theory works is I found best described in the illustration. So we can put ourselves in the middle or like the client themselves. And we have these five needs that are like embedded in us that drive us in our day to day lives. So one could be survival, the other one would be power, freedom, fun, and then love slash belonging. Each of us has all these five needs, and they are needs that we do need, but they do vary in strength. So you might have a stronger sense of um, love for something, like a need for love compared to someone else. So Glasser liked to emphasize that he believed that the need to love and belong is the primary need that we need to have. Because we need people to satisfy the other needs, such as like survival. So think of like an infant. I think of like an infant, and it's just like you need your parents to survive or a caregiver to survive. To have fun. Some people can have fun on their own, but some people also have fun when they're like around people and stuff. So I think that's what he meant when you need the other people to satisfy those needs. In a good way that reality therapists teach clients choice theory is they kind of do it indirectly. So clients can identify the unmet needs and the unmet needs that they have and try to satisfy them themselves, if that makes sense. Okay, so now what I kind of wanted to go over was the terms that you need to know to help understand these concepts of like choice theory and understand how reality therapy kind of works. So the first one is that kind of like choice theory teaches that we do not satisfy our needs directly. What we do beginning shortly after we are born is we keep track of anything that we do that feels good, something that satisfies a need or a want. And then, we kind of just store them inside our minds and build a file of wants. And that is referred to as like our quality world, which is the core of our life and existence. And so the next term that I'd like to discuss is the picture album. And that is we develop like an inner picture album, literally, like kind of like the scrapbook sort of thing that I have at the bottom right corner. A specific wants as well as precise ways to satisfy these wants. So the picture album is used and referred to and needed to aim for the quality world that we want. It's important to know that some of these pictures like may be like blurry or fuzzy or not really like kind of like remembering them and stuff, but the therapist's role in with reality therapy is to help the client clarify them. Um, And then next is people are the most important components of our quality world, and these are the people that we want to connect with the most, which is a great statement because this is referring back to when Dr. Glasser was referring to how love and belonging is one of the most important needs that we need to satisfy because they can help us strive to our quality world, our needs, our wants. And then lastly, we can jump down to total behavior, which every total behavior is our best attempt to get what we want to satisfy our needs. And total behavior teaches us that all behavior is made up of these four inseparable but distinct components. So the four of them are acting, thinking, feeling, and physiology. That is, these are necessary to accompany all of our actions, thoughts, and feelings that we have throughout life, and different things like that. Okay, so choice theory also teaches that talking about what clients cannot control is of minimal value, and that there should be an emphasis placed on what clients can control in their relationships, since obviously, like they stated before, relationships are what are part of the need. It's the love and belonging, so it's very important. So, in reality therapy, you would want to focus with your client quickly on the unsatisfying relationship or lack of the relationship, which is often the cause of clients' problems. Um, and so then in reality therapy, a couple components that you would focus on is choice and responsibility. So the book stated it pretty well when saying, if we choose all we do, we must be responsible for what we choose. Now, we do need to realize this does not mean that we should be blamed or punished, unless, of course, we break the law. But it does mean that therapists should never lose sight in the fact that clients are responsible for what they do. The next component that I'd like to focus on would be to reject transference. Reality therapists should strive to be themselves in their professional work, and by being themselves, therapists can use the relationship to kind of teach the client how to relate to others in their lives. This theory very does, it does focus a lot on kind of like counselor being the teacher and like the client being the student, which is like very different, I feel like, than what we've been learning, but I feel like it could be helpful for some clients. Of course, it's just going to be who it works for. The next one would be the here and now component, which is pretty much just keep the therapy in the present. Some clients, I feel, come to counseling that they are just going to be sitting on a couch, laying down, talking about their past, and a lot of times that's not the case. Glasser actually disagreed with the assumption that whatever mistakes are made in the past are not relevant now. And to function effectively, people need to live and plan in the present and take steps to create a better future. We can only satisfy our needs in the present. We can't really go back on them. But it is important to know that reality therapists, they do not reject the past. They are willing to go back, and look as long as if the client wants to talk about past successes or good relationships in the past, because the therapist can then listen, because they will be the client can possibly repeat these in the present. If you got a good result in the past, then they would be more than happy to repeat that in the present or for a future or for the plan, an action plan, kind of like. Another component that reality therapy bases on is avoid focusing on symptoms. Glasser felt that focusing on the past protects clients from facing their reality in unsatisfying present relationships, and focusing on symptoms does the same thing. So it's, you're kind of just I guess it's kind of like when I read it, I kind of got it as it's like coming up with excuses or something like that. So Glasser also stated that people who have symptoms believe that if they could only be symptom free, that they would find happiness. Which is obviously, I know probably for some of you automatically thinking whoa, that's kind of out there. But it's just kind of the way that he thinks about it. It's all about choice and taking responsibility and trying to satisfy these wants and needs. And so then the last component of reality therapy is kind of challenging traditional mental illness. Now, I know right off the bat, you guys are thinking, you mental health people are thinking oh my goodness, what do they mean? But what Glasser meant was that he wanted to challenge the traditional accepted views of mental illness and treatment by the use of medication, especially the widespread of psychiatric drugs that often result in negative side effects, both physical and psychological, sorry. So when I kind of read this, it's yeah, that's a little off the wall for us future mental health people, but I think it's a good way to kind of remember this is that they're trying to maybe help take away kind of I don't know, maybe the stigma, but also they are least likely to diagnose too. They're striving to getting going through more steps and more counseling and more self-reflection, instead of just automatically jumping to a diagnosis for insurance purposes. So I feel it's kind of really going to help that. Yeah. Okay, so in the next couple slides, I'll be talking about the therapeutic process. What's it like when you go through it? What do they say? What do the counselors do? Um, and the client's experiences and the relationship. So the goal is to help the client get connected or even reconnected with the people that they have chosen to put in their quality world. So the people that we're striving for to help us achieve our wants and needs, the love and belonging, the power, the fun, the survival, all those needs. And so then counselors, in a way, assist clients in making more effective and responsible choices related to their needs and wants. So it's a great way to like help and really build that connection with the client to counselor level and work through what they need to do. Okay, so next I have kind of the functions and the roles that are played during this therapeutic process in reality therapy. It is simple. It's kind of the counselor really is acting as a teacher, and the client is really focusing on being like a student. And the therapist, counselor's role is to teach clients how to engage in self evaluation, which is done by raising questions as simple as, like, how would you most like to change your life? What do you have to do now to make the change happen? This is just something that needs to kind of be done and for the client to do themselves. Um, in reality therapy, the counselors assist clients in evaluating their own like behavioral directions, their perceptions, the level of commitment, because this does take commitment, the possibility or options for new direction, and sort of like an action plan. These are all needed in the self evaluation process for the client to do it themselves. Um, and the counselor's role is not to make the evaluation for clients, but to challenge the clients to examine what they are doing. It's all putting it kind of like back on the client to figure it out and self-evaluate and self-reflect. And I kind of see that as kind of like what our program is doing with us now, is having this self-reflection and self-evaluation of what we're doing and how we plan on doing it and assessing it and going from here. And the job as the counselor is to convey the idea that no matter how bad things are, there is hope. If the counselor is able to kind of instill that sense of hope, clients feel that they are no longer alone and that that change is possible. Um, that's something I feel like that we kind of just do as humans in general. Like it could be from friend to friend or family member to friend or kind of like that. Like it's just something, that sense of hope is what's needed. And that is like our strive and our goal to help us like go forward and to change and really change our life. So in this slide, I kind of wanted to focus on the client's experience within this reality therapy. And it's to look at that counselors will gently but firmly confront their clients. This is done with encouraging self evaluation questions. I know it sounds like it may kind of like I worded it kind of like as like attacking them, but that's not the case. It's just these are questions that need to be asked. Kind of like how I think of it as like the counselor would be asking the client, is what you are doing helping you get what you want, or who you need to get closer to for like achieving your quality world. So these are questions that are really going to make the clients really like think, and be able to get to like down to like the root of their problems or the root of why this unsatisfying relationship is happening. Um, Next, kind of time is important. Clients can most likely expect to kind of experience some urgency in therapy, just because each session may be the last. Clients should be able to think like when they're be able to say like, what we talked about today I can begin to use in my day-to-day life, and bring to my present experiences on how to like work through them. So it's kind of just something that's going to like definitely need to be done. And it's this therapy is all about action. So when clients change what they are doing, they often change how they are feeling and thinking, which is the goal. Like that's what we need to do. It's like setting the action plan and then being able to like change how we're feeling and thinking to even like do it for like the next time and stuff like that. So this slide will kind of discuss the relationship between the counselor and client and kind of like what's it like and how to kind of like get there. So reality therapy emphasizes an understanding and supportive relationship, or like the term that they use is a therapeutic alliance, which is the foundation for effective outcomes in this theory, or in this therapy, and almost in probably any therapy, honestly, in my opinion. A skillful counselor will make sure to establish a trusting relationship. That should be a given. And counselors should have personal qualities to be able to implement this therapy, such as like warmth, sincerity, congruence, understanding, acceptance, openness, and willingness to be challenged by others. These are all something that are very important for any counselor to have, and then especially for one who wants to practice in reality therapy. Okay, with this slide, we will be talking about the WDEP system, which is pretty much was founded, I feel like, kind of by Dr. Bob, and he kind of like revamped it, implemented it in reality therapy, and it's a key concept for reality therapy in general. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. So the W, obviously, like you see, stands for the wants, needs, and perceptions of the client. And some of these questions that would be asked would kind of be, do you really want to change your life? What is it you want that you don't seem to be getting from life? What do you think stops you from making the changes you would like? So this is just simply just asking those questions, kind of getting it started, finding out where they are in their 5 basic needs, which again were the survival, freedom, fun, love and belonging, and stuff like that, and power. So it's kind of just getting to those questions, looking where their quality world is standing, clearing up their picture album. Um, so it's kind of just like that's what W would be. So D is focusing on the directions and doing. Um, that is really just simply asking, what are you doing? Even though problems may be rooted in the past, but we're not focusing on the past. Clients need to learn how to deal with them in the present. Um, So, yeah, problems must be solved either in the present or through a plan in the future. So that's why the past is not really relevant with this type of therapy, which I understand may be odd for others, but that's just how this theory works. This therapy works. Um, and then, reality therapy really focuses on gaining awareness of and the changing current total behavior. So that's kind of, asking again or asking questions like, what did you actually do yesterday? What do you want to do differently this past week? What stopped you from doing what you said you wanted to do? What will you do tomorrow? So it's kind of, gaining the direction on like steering them the way they need to go or steering the way that they want to go, and different things like that. Because it's easier to change what we are doing and thinking than change our feelings. Feelings are rooted very deep and stuff like that, but we can change the way we think or do in most situations, I feel. And so next is E, so, self-evaluation. It's kind of just asking, like, does your present behavior have a reasonable chance of getting you what you want now? And will it take you the direction you want to go? So I feel like it's kind of combining the W and the D and kind of just really going from there. So it's asking more questions like, is what you are doing helping or hurting you? Is your behavior working for you? Is what you're doing against the rules? Is what you want realistic or attainable? And I see this kind of like as self-reflecting. So it's kind of like, like what they ask us of in this program is really to like self-reflect on ourselves and self-evaluate what we want to gain, what we want to do throughout, and what we want to like, kind of learn. And so then lastly is P, which is planning or action. Once clients determine what they want to change, they are generally ready to explore possible behaviors and come up with an action plan. So the key question again is something simple: is what is your plan? The process of creating and carrying out plans enables people to begin to gain effective control over their lives. The plan gives the client a starting point, which is a lot of time what I feel like clients and just people in general just need. It's just like, where do I go from here? Where do I start? What can I do right now? And of course, these plans that we set in place in therapy can be modified as needed. That's what's kind of like great about it, you know, and that's what kind of great about any plan. In most circumstances, you should be able to change it and modify it when it's, you know, when life comes up. So, and the thing is with the plan, though, that is very important. Um, Plans are empty unless there is a commitment to carry out. It is up to the client to determine how to take their action outside the restricted world of therapy and into everyday life. Um, and so, you know, these are just a lot of like kind of hard hitting questions that you kind of just have to ask as a counselor. You know, it's something that your client really needs to think about, and you're there to help them think about. Um, and it really is an art. Like the book stated it pretty well, that it is an art for counselors to know what questions to ask, how to ask them, and when to ask them, just for the relevance of therapy. So after reading all this, I kind of wanted to give you guys some like direction or kind of like where this would be best like implemented at. And you know, the book talked about a lot about like group counseling, and I find it would be very well in like couples, children, and different things like that. Um, it's used Reality therapy is used in a variety of settings like the book stated, of course, like in counseling, social work, education, crisis intervention, corrections, rehabilitation, institutional management, and like community development. It's very popular in like schools, general hospitals, state mental health hospitals, halfway houses, and alcohol and drug abuse centers. So this is something that is obviously shown like that it could be used in a lot of things. And of course, like stated before, like it may not be for you, but it could be there. It could be for someone else. You know, this is. I'm sure there's a lot of questions that you guys are gaining in your head, like where is this going? And what is something I'm interested in? It's just something that I encourage to like really reading into, and kind of just going on, moving on from there. All right, and we're getting to pretty much the end of it. I wanted to just, you know, kind of sum up for you guys that the goal of reality therapy really is to include behavioral change, better decision making, improve, improved significant relationships, enhanced living, and more effective satisfaction of all physiological needs. It's also the key strength of, and cannot be emphasized enough, of reality therapy is that it provides clients with tools to make the changes they desire. It's all about getting those basic needs met. It really is, and just finding ways and directions and reflection on how to get to your quality world, what you want, what you need, um, to just be able to live a better life. All right, guys, so I kind of wanted to leave you with a few questions. So, my first one was kind of just a review, and it was just what does WDEP stand for? Um, you know, think about it. And then this is another question I kind of wanted to ask you guys. The book stated in one of its kind of like criticism about the theory or the therapy or reality therapy is that reality therapy is known for using concrete language and simple concepts. So I wanted to ask you guys, do you think that is a good or a bad thing? Um, you know, tell me what you think. And then these are my references. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you actually learned something. Sorry for my weird voice and that I say a lot. See you guys soon. Bye.